Hello, my wonderful friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tori. If you're new, I'm so happy that you're here because today we are going through a bunch of fantasy romance recommendations that are 400 pages or less. If you're in the mood to dabble in some fantasy romance and maybe you want something quick, fun, easy to read in between some chunkier books, some more serious books, I think that any of these would be really great options. So I hope that you're excited. If you are, please be sure to give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you grab a coffee, tea, water, snack, and let's talk about some books. I don't know where to start. Let's start with one I think would be perfect for fall, and that is An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. Margaret Rogerson writes the sweetest, most heartfelt YA fantasy romances, and this book is perfect for fall because it takes place in the autumn court. It is so atmospheric. The majority of the book, they're taking this journey through the woods, through the wilderness. You're experiencing fairy in the peak autumnal vibes. It's immaculate. I was screaming, kicking my feet, tee-heeing, kikiing, like all of the things. I love this so much. So we follow Isabel, and she is a prodigy artist. The Autumn Prince has commissioned a painting from her. So she is doing a portrait, but she makes a fatal mistake. She paints mortal sorrow in his eyes. The fair folk in these books do not show any emotion, especially not mortal emotion. They're very stone cold, stone-faced, morally gray, like they are not nice people. And so Rook is furious. He spirits Isabel away to stand trial for her crime, but on their journey for her to go stand trial, they realize that something is seriously amiss in the autumn court, and things just go from there. I love this book so much. Every time I see it, I just want to give it a hug. I absolutely need to reread this soon. Also, the cover's really shiny, so I apologize, but it has the prettiest cover. I love it so much. Next up, we're going to talk about one of my favorite Kindle Unlimited series, literally ever. This is one of the first KU series that I binge read when I first got my Kindle in 2020, so it has a very special place in my heart, and it's a Hades and Persephone retelling. I've talked about this book on my channel before. It basically is a modern retelling of Greek gods, specifically Hades and Persephone. She's going to college for journalism, and one night her friends want to go out to this nightclub. Hades is notorious for owning nightclubs in New Athens. So they go, and she ends up in this card game with this mysterious, dark, broody stranger, and it turns out to be Mr. Hades himself, and they end up making a bet, like a fun flirty bet, but things get serious real quick. After her encounter with Hades, Persephone finds herself in a contract with the god of the dead, and his terms are impossible. Persephone must create life in the underworld or lose her freedom forever. Now, I'm gonna mention a classic. I feel like most people have read these or have at least heard of them, but an author who writes fantasy romance, she writes YA, that are so incredible. The character development, the character arcs, the high stakes that are in all of her books. All of her books are under 400 pages. You are not compromising on any of the plot for the length of the story. The Cruel Prince series, if you haven't read these books yet, you absolutely need to. And it is my mission in life to make everyone who likes fantasy romance read the Folk of the Air trilogy. These books are so incredible. They're all super short. The first book is 370 pages, and the other two I think are actually a little bit shorter. I don't even know where to start with these books. I will just say that Jude and Carden still live in my head rent-free, and I haven't read these books for 2 years. Jude is the ultimate badass political strategist. She is here for world domination, and everyone wants to give it to her. Carden, their enemies to lovers still has me in an absolute chokehold. Like, if you're looking for pinnacle of enemies to lovers, it is Jude and Carden. That's all I'm gonna say. And then I will throw in The Stolen Heir as well. This is her newest release, and I think her second book in this series is coming out very soon. This is a spin-off series about Jude's younger brother. Moving on to another fan favorite. This is also YA. I promise I do have some new adult / adult that are in here as well. Well, Scarlet St. Clair is new adult, but this is another YA. This is Daughter of the Pirate King by Trisha Levenseller. Another author where the length of the novel does not compromise on the character development and the plot. I wasn't expecting to give this book 5 stars and read it in one sitting, but here we are. I read this past summer. We get a captor-captive dynamic in this one. Princess Alosa is also such a badass. Like, doesn't take no for an answer. She can beat anyone's butt. She is so good at pirating. She is just the ultimate pirate queen, even though she's the daughter of a pirate king. She is the ultimate princess pirate. The banter was bantering. The tension was tensioning. So 17-year-old Alosa is the captain of her own ship, and she gets sent on an impossible mission to capture this ancient pirate map. In order to get this pirate map, she deliberately allows herself to be captured by her enemies because she needs to search their ship. It just makes me smile talking about it. And then she meets the first mate. His name is Ridden, and y'all, this is so good. You need to read it. And this comes in at a whopping 308 pages, so it's super quick. I'll jump to another fan favorite. I think that these books are talked about a lot as well. You can find them on Kindle Unlimited, and that is The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen. Another enemies to lovers that still has me in such a chokehold, and another absolute baddie female main character. Also, her enemy, our MMC, is drool worthy. We follow Laura, and she has been trained to become this princess assassin, a lethal spy, if you will. She's been taught that the Bridge Kingdom is the absolute mortal enemy. They are corrupt, they are awful, they're doing horrible things in the world that's impacting her kingdom as well. She's sent as a bride under the guise of fulfilling a treaty of peace. Laura is prepared to do whatever it takes to fracture the defenses of the impenetrable Bridge Kingdom. But as she comes to know her new husband, Arin, she realizes maybe what she learned throughout her childhood isn't the truth. She's starting to question everything that she knows. Knife to the throat, high stakes, there's a lot of battle scenes, there's a lot of running around this island. This is a series as well, so there's also the Traitor Queen. These are a duology that both follow Laura and Arin, and then this series does continue in spin-off duologies to follow other characters that you meet in this series. So if you do want more, you have the option. And these books are, the first book in this is 340 pages. The Bridge Kingdom duology. Next up is a book that I read recently. Also, you can find this on Kindle Unlimited. It is Frost by C.N. Crawford. This is the first book in a duology. The second book is out. It's called Ambrosia. This is the first book in the Frost and Nectar series. I don't think I've ever had so much fun reading a fantasy romance. This is a fantasy romance that reads like a contemporary romance. It is a low fantasy. It's so easy to fall into. I will say that this fae world, because part of it does take place in fairy, reminds me so much of Elfheim. In this book, we follow Ava. She is down on her luck. On her birthday, she walks in on her long-term human boyfriend who's cheating on her in their bed, but she gets the opportunity when Torin, who is the Seelie Fae King, rolls through town, and he is hosting a dating game / reality TV show where he is trying to find a new Seelie queen. She gets the opportunity to participate in this deadly competition. The catch is that Torin doesn't want a real marriage, a real relationship. He's not in this to look for love. His deal with Ava is that if she participates and she wins, she will win $50 million, and he only needs 3 weeks of her time, and then she can go back to her life and she'll be taken care of forever. The stakes in this are so high. I was absolutely shocked. I was giggling and smiling to myself. I read this in a recent reading vlog that, if it's up yet, I will link it down below. You can see in the clips, I am trying to hide my laughter and my smiles because Ava is an absolute card. Torin finds her so amusing. He keeps saying he's not gonna fall in love with her. Boy, please. Next up is a completely different vibe. It is Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is a Regency Fae fantasy romance. Absolutely adorable. If you're looking for like cozy fantasy vibes with lower stakes, this is such a good one. I've talked about this one before on my channel. We follow Theodora Eddings, and she goes by Dora. She hopes to be a quiet, sensible wallflower during the London season, but she gets introduced to Elias Wilder, who is the handsome, peculiar, and utterly ill-mannered Lord Sorcier. He is the court magician, or like the royal magician, I think more accurately. When Dora was young, she had this unfortunate incident running into one of the fair folk. She's left with a condition that leaves her prone to accidental scandal because she has no sense of fear or embarrassment. So she's trying to lay low, she's trying to not cause a scene, not cause attention, and it is so funny. The situational humor in this, also another book that has incredible banter. Lord Sorcier and Dora are just drawn to each other because they're both fairly ill-mannered. She doesn't mean to be ill-mannered. She tries really hard not to be, and to be that upstanding lady of society when she has to go to these events. Lord Sorcier just doesn't care absolutely one bit, and I loved every second of this. We're gonna switch back to another Kindle Unlimited series. This is called The Hades Trials, and it is written by Eliza Rain and Rose Wilson. These are books where if you don't want spice, but you want a very plot-driven fantasy romance, Eliza Rain is an author I think you will really enjoy. But I have read her entire Hades Trials series. It's another Hades and Persephone retelling. We follow our main character, but she is not trying to be the goddess of spring slash goddess of the underworld. She's living in the mortal realm. She's working as a barista, but she's studying to become like a garden architect. She really loves botany, and so she is studying how to arrange like really beautiful botanical gardens, which, such a vibe. But she gets kidnapped from Zeus, plucked from the streets to compete in this deadly dating game. Hades is being forced to look for a wife by Zeus. There is a big bind-up of these books that I think you can also download on KU. It's like the omnibus version. That version, because it's combining 3 books that are around 200 to 250 pages, is like 600 pages. But Eliza Rain and Rose Wilson, in this case, write these books so that they're not separate. They're not written as separate stories. It's really just 3 volumes of a complete continuation. I think the first book is the setup of the story. You get like 1 or 2 of the trials. The second book you get another trial, and then the last book you get the finale. So fun, so quick, so easy to read, and if you love a Hades and Persephone retelling like I do, if you love a dark, broody, shadowy male love interest, absolutely recommend this one. And then the last book that I'm going to leave you with is Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. Everyone is talking about this, and for good reason. I absolutely loved it. I did not have high expectations going into this book and loved every second of it and was in tears by the end. The cliffhanger at the end of this book is intense, and we get the second book that's coming out in December. I had to pre-order it right away. We get a exquisitely executed rivals to lovers. We have our 2 main characters. They are rival journalists. Oh my gosh, it is so good. She's going over and like messing up his desk just to get a ruse out of him, and I was on the floor. But there are some serious undertones that are taking place in this book. There is a war of the gods that throughout this book we are learning little bits and pieces of the lore behind why and what's happening. So that's kind of almost a mystery aspect. Our main characters, Iris and Roman, don't have all the answers themselves, and they're trying to piece together this information about this war. However, Iris's brother gets sent to the front lines. Her and her brother are very, very close. She's writing him, but he's not responding to her letters, and then she finds out that he is missing from action. He's missing from the front lines. So she decides to go to the war zone and become a war correspondent. Meanwhile, her and Roman are writing letters back and forth to each other. She thinks that these letters are going to her brother. Come to find out, they're not, and they're getting received by this anonymous, mysterious person that she doesn't know the identity of. She doesn't know that Roman is reading all of her letters, responding to them. Their relationship is building. He knows that it's her. She doesn't know that it's him. It reads like a historical fantasy romance. Oh my gosh, highly recommend. And that is it, my friends. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please be sure to give it a big thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you've read any of these, if you've loved any of these, please let me know in the comments down below. If you have any recommendations for fantasy romances that are on the shorter side, that are 400 pages or less, leave those in the comments. That way we can just have so many options to pick from. I will catch you in the comments, and I will see you in my next one, friends. Bye!